Hello, today we're going to have a little diversion from the usual Z-car stuff. What we're looking at is a tachometer. This tachometer, let me flip it over so you can see it, is for a Datsun 510. A friend of mine's working with his son to restore a Datsun 510 wagon, and he wanted to add a tachometer to the dashboard. As far as I can tell, the 510 wagon never came with a tachometer as an option. So before he goes through modifying the wiring, he was asking if find out if this tachometer even works. Well, I figure I should be able to do that fairly easily. What we have here is somebody added some spade connectors very poorly. That one's going to have to be replaced before I test. So these spade connectors would go to the ignition circuit. There's the current sensing loop right there. Goes up, over, and right here we have green with white and black, and somebody apparently cut these off and crimped them back on. Love seeing that. But this is your power for your tachometer, and this is the ground for the tachometer power. So what will happen is, on one side you have the ignition voltage coming in. It goes through, back out here, and goes on to the what would be, this is usually picked up on the downside of the ballast, or the downstream side of the ballast resistor. This would go to the ignition coil. That doesn't matter which wire goes where, as long as they both connect. And the power, and then as your points or your electronic ignition, if you've gone to something like a Pertronics, as that grounds, it will see that on the it'll see the pulse and the current as the points open and close, and that's what gives you your signal for the tachometer. So let's go over how I need to set my car up to test this out. Okay, so here we have my 240. Let me try and get a little bit more light on. There we go. A little more light here. Right now, if you're wondering what this clip lead is for, when I was last driving this car, I wasn't seeing my temperature gauge responding. So how best to check it? Ran a little clip lead here, grounded it, and then turned the key on, and immediately saw the meter deflecting. So that told me that the temperature sender's bad, so I'm going to have to drain some coolant and repair that. But in the meantime, there's nothing from keeping us from testing this. So let me find the right wires through the spider webs that quickly develop. It's Joro season here. Okay, so down here I have my ignition wires. I've put a bullet connector on. This is the green with white, and this is the black with white. So basically the black with white has got the power from the key, and let me hold it so you can see it. It would go to the ballast resistor if I needed it, but in this application with the Pertronics igniter 2, I don't need it. It goes to the green and white, that goes to the tachometer, and comes out back over here to the coil. So to test, what I can do is interrupt this circuit right here, and from that bullet connector I can send power over to the tachometer and ground it here at the shock tower. And I can also use that to go through the tachometer back out to the green and white wire, and that way I can see about getting the signal. All I got to do is attach some connectors to a wire, or to some wires, and I can have that all rigged up. So I assembled my tools for wiring, and I thought, you know, might not be a bad idea to write out. Let me see if I can get this all on camera shot here. I wrote out all the connections I need to make, so I can hopefully just execute and sit there and put all the wires together that I need. Let's see. Try to do this into the camera lens there. There we go. Less of a Batman feel with the angle. And I will start putting those together. Everything laid out. Have small female spade for the power wire, and have the double bullet, female double bullet here, 2 bullet connectors. I got a female spade, second female spade. Those will be, I need to get out one more insulator here, because I don't like having uninsulated terminals lying about. Here's my male with insulator. So I got everything laid out. For tools, I got my trusty open barrel crimper. Zoom out a little bit. Wire strippers and various wire cutters. And finally, a pair of long nose pliers, just in case I need them for anything. Okay, some crimping tips here. Make sure you don't crimp off much or strip off much wire. Only a little over 1/4 inch really. Less than 3/8 is what I prefer. When you're doing these insulated terminals, remember, slide the insulation over the wire before you try to crimp. That's one of the biggest headaches I have, is when I forget that simple rule. Okay. Then, with the open barrel crimper, what you can do here is you just load the terminal into, you can see the, hopefully you can see it, hopefully it focuses. Let's see, you can see a little dimple there. So just load it in like that. Let's see if I can get a decent angle here that'll focus. Can't tell from my angle if it's focused or not. I'll hope it is. Just barely get it in there. Have the edge of the terminal there right at the edge of the crimper. We'll just put the wire in. Make sure you see insulation. Let's see. There you go. Just a tiny bit of insulation there. And then you just squeeze. And you got a nice crimp there that'll hold as long as you need it to. At that point, I can get the second part here of the open barrel crimp, or the open barrel crimp terminal. You can see it was a little long there. I'll take some, let's see, will it focus? How about if I put my hand behind it? Will it focus now? I think it might have. So what we'll do is I might try trimming a little bit of that off. That's why I like having the small wire cutters handy. But it's not absolutely necessary. But you can see you don't need to strip off much. So I'm going to finish doing all my crimps and get this ready to plug into the car. The wiring is complete. So what I did here, this should normally go in a shell, but I'm not going to go through all the trouble of putting it in a shell. This wire is going to go to a clip lead and then be grounded. I'll use that red clip lead that's already in the car. Right here. There we go. We got this wire from the tachometer, the loop, the coil sensing loop, going to the green wire that has a double bullet connector. This is going to go to the green and white wire in the car. This red wire, follow it along, it goes over here to the positive power on the tachometer. And then the other wire, this white wire, is going to go to the female bullet on the black wire. Let me get my hand there so focus. There we go. That'll go to the female bullet connector on the black wire in the car. So first I'm going to warm up the car so it starts right away. Then I am going to connect the tachometer, and I'll get my lovely assistant to start the car while I'm filming the tachometer working, I hope. And I'll also have a electrical meter that has a tachometer function to play along with this tachometer. Now we have the tachometer hooked up electrically to the car. We got power, we got ground. Doesn't look like we have a potential for a short circuit. Good. I'm going to put something underneath. Okay. I got a fender cover that should insulate the tachometer from the body of the car. I have an electrical meter set up with to measure RPM. Have the leads all ready to go. Already checked that. Okay, car's running. Don't see a response from the tachometer yet. Slow response, but I am seeing some response. My guess is it probably would respond better. Let me try it again. So there was some response. As you can see, it's above zero. I'm thinking partly, part of the problem is I'm testing it with a 6-cylinder car, and this is calibrated for a 4-cylinder, so it's going to respond less. So when you look at it, it should be 2/3 more, which, yeah, that'll put it close. A little under, but the tachometer does seem to be working. So I'm going to shut the car off and see what happens. Another run. Before I said that it was registering low because it's calibrated for a 4-cylinder. That's wrong, because it should register high. Well, if I put this one on 4-cylinder, it registers. If I put the meter on 4-cylinder, it registers higher. So I would think that the tachometer would register high too. So I'm going to start the car again. See if I can do this without falling down. So I carefully maneuver around my quick jack here. There we go. Gotta get the key out of my pocket. So that always makes starting the car a lot easier. Okay. So you can see there was meter deflection, but it is awfully low. Again, I wonder if there's a problem with the impedance since I'm not running a ballast resistor.